as you can see, I've got most of the pieces, parts of what I posted, if that makes sense. I've got the Cuttlebone, I've got the solder, I've got a metal pot, I've got a spoon that I'm never going to use again as a spoon, and I got a bunch of cool little charms and other stuff like that in here that I've been using for masters for casting, and this just works really well. Have you all had a chance to look at my wife's documentations?
No, I'm sorry.
I looked over her website, never could find anything on the casting.
I need to go grab it then. I think I know where a hard copy is.
I think it's on the pendant.
There we go. Nope. That's not it. That's a different casting project. Okay, well, I can't find her documentation right now. I strongly suggest you look through her documentation because it's very good. But I'll be going over everything that's kind of covered in. So it's 7 past, I'm gonna start. Is that cool with everyone?
Sounds good.
Sure.
Okay. What I'm going to be working on is cuttlefish casting, making a little pendant or whatever. And what we started with was this book here. This is Pilgrimage and Secular Badges from Excavations in London. It's published by HMSO. So it's a very authoritative source. You can see some of the pieces that they've dug up, okay? And if you, in the beginning of it, they were discussing molds. And I'm looking for that discussion. These books are great. There's a whole series of these. This one, where'd the mold section go? There's a segment on molds, and I'm looking for it right now. Here it is. Molds and metals. And in here, there is a page that describes what the molds were made out of. Here's an example of a stone mold that they have found in London. And stone molds are very valid, but the issue is there's a lot of time that is spent making the mold, where the technique I'm going to be showing you is a very quick process, very inexpensive, very easy to do. but it's totally documentable. And here's proof of that. This is one of the molds that they found. You can see a bunch of M's that were carved, and you can tell that this is cuttlefish because it has the same striations of the piece that I played with this past week. You can tell that it's listed in here. So that's proof that they used it. That's really close to primary documentation because it's from an authoritative source, and it's really cool. So since we saw that, my wife and I have this book also, and it has a segment on cuttlefish casting. And this is what we'll be doing this evening. Okay. There are two ways to deal with cuttlefish bones. One of them is to take your charm like this. Oh, there it is. I have a bunch of turtle charms because I enjoy turtles. And what we'll do is we'll be pressing this metal charm into the cuttlefish to make the mold. I practiced last week, and you can see, pardon me, you can see me pressing it in. This is the mold. This is what came out of it. And this is what we'll be making this evening. And this is at a point where there's a bunch of flashing on it that you can remove with files or nippers or something else like that. Okay. What I'm kind of showing is the documentation behind how we figured all this out. The Complete Metalsmith is not a period book. It's not a primary source. It's second or tertiary, and it's a good how to do it. It's not how they did it. It's how to do it utilizing today's standards. And so if you're interested in metalworking, this is a very good book. If you're interested in cool little things, this is a good book. Let me start with how to do this. Okay, this is a cuttlefish bone. I bought it at Walmart this past week. I paid $1.12 for it, and we're going to make this into our mold. I'm also bought some plumbing solder. This is a mix of silver, copper, and tin. In period, they mix tin and lead together to come up with pewter. I chose lead-free solder for the health benefits. If you're interested in learning what they mixed in period, Pilgrimage and Secular Badges has some exact alloy potential in it where you mix, I think it was like 60% lead and 40% of tin by weight to come up with a medieval pewter. It's in here. You can do the research and you can find it, or you can look at my wife's website. That would add more complexity to it as if you alloyed and made your own pewter, and that would probably score better. I have my kitchen stove here. I'm going to turn on this element right here and put my metal pot on there, and I'm going to hopefully this will melt. Okay. As that's melting, let's go ahead and make our mold. So I'm going to take this, which is the Cuttlebone, and I'm going to break it. Right there. Okay. So these are the two halves of our mold, or will be the two halves of our mold. And they need to fit flat together. If you look at this, you can see where the bone is curved. You want it flat. And the easiest way to do that is to just rub them together, and you get a fine dust. But what this does is it flattens out the mold. As you can see, that cavity is now reduced, and I'm getting a bunch of powder off. Jacqueline, can you see this okay?
Your body cam is just a little bit to the right of your hands.
Yeah.
Let me move my body cam.
There you
So
go. Right.
are we supposed to do things as you're doing them?
If you want to,
Or are you doing this first and then we're going to do it?
it's your choice. If you want to follow along, you've got 4 pieces of cuttlefish.
Mm-hmm.
You could take them and you can break them. Take one of them and break it like I have.
Uh-huh.
And you're welcome to follow along, and I can watch you do it if you turn your video on. I can see what you're doing, and I can offer. I'm sorry about that. Apart. Try that again. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to utilize technology I'm not quite used to. So I am going to flatten everything out. And if you want to follow along, Jacqueline, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine also. You can remember this, or you can check the recording and you can go back to it if that's what you want. As you can see,
We
I have
keep
now-
rubbing it together so it's flat?
see how it's flat? Ooh, right there.
Okay.
And where there used to be a hole. Dropped it again. And this body cam thing might not be working. Okay. Okay, so you want to get it relatively flat, because if it's not flat, you'll have this flashing or metal that isn't in the right location. Cuttlefish, you're lucky if you get 10 pores out of it. It will burn, whereas in sand or stone molds, you can get hundreds. Sand, you get 1 pore out of it. Stone molds, I've gotten 500 of pores off of one of my soapstone molds. Okay, but that takes more time and more effort. Now, there's that piece of cuttlefish that I showed earlier had a bunch of M's carved into it. I feel they used a different method where they took a knife and carved out the mold themselves, because where the cuttlefish is not is going to be filled up with metal. My wife and I have discovered, my wife discovered an easier way to do this, and that is to take a charm or a little doodad, and you can make these out of Sculpey or something else like that, a modeling clay, and make something hard that I'm going to press this into the cuttlefish. Okay. And I'm doing this by wiggling it around. I'm trying to fit it into the cuttlefish, and I'm not pressing super hard, but I am pressing kind of hard into it. And now that I've got that input, you can see that on the screen. You see how I just pressed it in? What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this as a knife. I'm going to go in here and dig out a little bit more. And again, at $1.12 a mold, that's not too bad for the price of cuttlefish. And
Not getting anywhere.
pardon?
I'm pressing my mold in and it's not moving.
Can you turn your video on?
Hold on. I'm trying to press it in and it's not going in.
It's supposed to be what?
No. Don't move.
Right, it's indenting a little bit,
It's indenting.
but it's not going in.
It
Indenting.
should press in, not super easily, but it should work.
Now, is this supposed to be wet?
No, this is all dry.
Well, you got, at least you got it in something. I can't get it in.
Hey, Lawrence.
Hey,
Okay, so I have this imprint into my cuttlefish. Can you see that imprint?
Yes, it's a lovely imprint.
It kind of looks like the M's that were pictured, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is the imprint that we're going to fill up with metal. And I'm going to do that by taking the other piece of cuttlefish that I have, and we'll be holding it together and pouring hot metal into there. But first we need a way to get the metal into here. So I'm going to, don't tell my wife this, go in our kitchen drawer and grab a kitchen knife.
But don't use her scissors.
Yeah, I know. I don't do that. I learned. So to get metal into here, this is the mold area that we're going to be pouring in. I'm going to cut a little sprue so that I can get metal into that area. What's your comment, Larry?
Here. There. You see?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Okay.
And
What
now
you
we
need-
just put the other back on it?
Will in a moment, but first you need to cut a little channel from the top of your cavity to the top of the cuttlefish piece so that you can pour metal in there. Do you see how I've kind of cut a little channel here?
you're making a pour channel.
So I've got my fleur-de-lis design here, and I've got a funnel going to it.
Can you there it is, never mind. I can see it now.
Is this okay? Can you see it?
Yep.
Is this making sense?
Yep.
Okay. When I started pressing my my charm into this, I turned on my metal pot on high on a small element on my stove. And this is really cool, or at least some people think this is cool. It's now gone molten. And you want to melt some of the solder to this metal pan.
Oh, you just cut this?
You gotta break one, you gotta break it in half, and then smooth it together, so it lays together flat, like this.
And you want to get enough molten metal to fill the spoon. To add complexity to this, you could do it over an open fire with, again, a metal pot. And that would add, like a wood fire, that would add to the complexity points for an arts entry. Because this is, using a glass top stove is not really period. So coming up with a period substitution would add complexity to it. And almost anybody can do a wood fire unless you're in like an apartment. You could almost do a hibachi out on your patio or something else like that. Last time my wife and I did this, we did a bunch of people through a class, and we had a wood fire going outside with a iron cauldron in it. And so nobody could take points off because we used our cooktop. I'm using my cooktop because I didn't want to build a fire this evening.
You're right there, Karen.
I'm sorry? Hey, Joan. The pop
Hey,
fire.
Jeff.
Who's grinding a mold? Who's shuffling a mold?
Me, because Lawrence broke mine.
That's why I gave you 4 pieces.
That's why I'm quickly smoothing this one.
Okay. Joan,
Mhm.
I don't know if you're following along at home.
Yeah, we got the supplies. We just got home a little while ago.
Okay. This is being recorded, so you can watch it again, right, Steve?
Yep. I was just giving Joan the lowdown in the chat there of what
Yeah.
you've done so far.
I
Okay, I'm not
appreciate it.
watching that. I'm just watching the screen. Okay, so I have my spoon, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to pre-warm my spoon because you want to pour liquid metal, and if your spoon is cold, your metal might cool off between the metal pot and your cuttlefish. Okay, please exercise caution. Do not burn yourself in the next following steps. Okay, I have my mold here, and I have my other half here. Okay, as you can see, I'm watching the screen. There it is. I have this little sprue carved out of it so that I can pour hot metal in. Okay, I'm going to hold it like this. Okay, the Complete Metal Metal Worker, the jewelry book that I recommended earlier, normally wraps it in wire and sticks it in a pot with sand in it. I'm lazy, but most of you guys knew that already. So I have my cuttlefish here. I have my metal here, and I'm going to pour my metal into my mold. Did you all catch that? No comment, it's quiet.
Yep, we got it.
Okay, and so I'm going to, if you look at it, it's still warm metal. It's still moving a little bit. I'm going to let it cool a little bit, and then we'll be opening this mold up. One word of caution: do not get water involved in any of this process, because hot metal and water do not mix. It forms steam and it explodes. It's not a good concept. I can't stress that enough. So
Is that right, Jeffrey?
that looks great, Jacqueline.
And this, the hole?
That looks great.
And I just lay the back to it, and now I do your metal thing?
Yep. Yep, you're doing great. Okay, so I think that this is cold enough, and I'm going to open up my mold. And my metal wasn't hot enough because it choked out and it didn't get my whole pattern. here's what I was trying to get, and it didn't pour all the way down. Let me pull this out. That's the back side, and here's the front side that didn't pour out. So I'm going to do it again. Normally you can use a cuttlefish bone mold about 10 times before it burns. So this is really an inexpensive and easy way to get a reusable mold.
Jeffrey?
Yes.
About how long of this solder do you put in the pan?
Enough to get a spoonful.
And I cut it with scissors or a plier?
You can do that, or you can do this.
Oh, that's much easier.
I'm just melting it, and it forms this puddle. Watch this, Jacqueline.
Your iPhone froze. This. And did you say not to do anything with water?
Yeah, but he said not to do anything with water because it'll steam and explode. But I think we lost his. I think we lost his audio.
Now, am I supposed to have my spoon in that pan as well?
We lost you, Jeffrey.
Oh, he's muted.
Yeah, I think his phone must have got a call or something.
But is my spoon supposed to be cold or hot?
I don't recall him mentioning, but as long as it doesn't have water on it, I think it'll be all right.
Okay.
He had his bare hands on the spoon, so it couldn't have been too hot.
Okay.
Okay, can you guys hear me again?
Yes, we lost your iPhone feed. Can you hear us?
Can you all hear me?
We can.
Yes, no, yeah. I have it on mute.
I don't think he can hear us though yet.
Oh, it's melting. Oh, cool.
Okay. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you guys. My phone overheated.
Ah.
Okay. Here is that one I poured a few moments ago. And again, please be aware that hot metal looks like cold metal, and please do not burn yourselves. But here, here is what I just poured. And I'm looking, and this is the original.
How do we get the stuff out of the pot?
Spoon.
Does my spoon got to be cold?
It would be good if your spoon was a little warm.
Okay, so I should put my spoon in the pan.
Yes, you could see me doing that, and just kind of pouring or scooping the molten metal. Let me demonstrate that. I'm wearing oven mitts, as you can see. Let me pick up my computer and move it over to here. Here's my pan, and here's my spoon. And all I'm going to do is warm it up. My spoon is sitting in the molten metal. And that's going to warm it up, because if it's a cold spoon, when you pull it out, it won't pour. You want it where it's nice and hot and where it's pouring out of the spoon. And I'm trying to melt some more. Wood fires work a little bit better than my glass top stove, but this will work, and this is an easy project, relatively easy project, that you can enter in ArtSci. And it'll score really well because it's easy to document. It's totally period. Well, with reasonable substitutions. I'm melting more solder, and I'm going to be warming up my spoon. Okay.
Is this going to come off my stove?
Yes. Once it cools, it'll come off very easily. I think I dropped a piece of it right here. And
oh shit, it's just rolling off. Sorry, I just apologize for swearing.
Nope, that's perfectly fine. You'll hear me do the same. Here is an example of the fleur-de-lis. My metal still wasn't hot, or my mold wasn't deep enough, because it only made it halfway down. It didn't spread out like it should have in my mold. So I'm going to try that again. Okay. Not bad. Okay, and I'm just picking this up and I'm pouring the molten metal into the mold until the metal flows out the top. Can you all see that? Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and now I'm just going to hold the mold closed until everything cools and until this metal is hard. See how it's still kind of flowy, kind of gummy?
Mm-hmm.
It means that the metal inside the mold is not cool. It has not solidified. And there are proper terms for all this. I'm not using them. I'm kind of making it easier to understand, I hope, from everybody who's doing this.
How long should we hold it closed?
Until the metal on top is solid. Take your spoon and try to move the metal on top. If you can move the metal on top, it means that the metal inside is not solid yet. Okay, I don't know how long I hold it.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how long do you hold it?
It's just experience, and that's why I'm offering this class. It's an inexpensive way to make a kind of period ornament that if you wanted to enter it in ArtSci, it would be very easy to do. Okay, I'm going to release the one I've just did. And again, it didn't pour all the way. you can see I'm having difficulties getting down here, and that's because my mold's not deep enough, and the metal is cooling down, solidifying before it makes it all the way to the bottom here.
Ah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make my mold a little bit deeper and try it again. And the beauty of casting is you can take pieces you don't like. I don't really like this piece. Just drop it back in the pot and it'll melt again, and then I'll reuse it.
Good. Waste not, want not.
Yeah. Look at my garage. I'm sure John told you about that last night.
Look at, here's the splat from my stove.
Oh, wow.
So I can just throw that back in the pot.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Be careful. It might be warm.
Oh, this is so cool. I love this, Geoffrey.
Is this a good class for you, John?
Oh, I love it.
Great. I need to get you hooked on casting hotter metals that I have better results with. I'm not that great. This is the first time I've taught this class. I've watched my wife do it once or twice. Okay, I prefer sand casting or soapstone casting, but that's a little bit more difficult, and it's challenging to do on a kitchen stove. Okay, your molds will heat up as you do this. Be aware of that. I can't stress enough safety on this. You're dealing with hot metal. Hot metal looks like cold metal. As long as it's solid, when it's molten, you can tell it's hot. Okay.
How's this?
I'm sorry?
See?
Ooh.
That's great. Is that close to your original?
Yes. Other than the stem that's hanging off of it.
Well, that stem you can now drill through and suspend the pendant from that, or whatever you cast.
I love this. This is so much fun.
Nice.
That was my goal. Okay, so Jacqueline, are you happy with what you've got?
Yes, I'm thrilled.
Okay, Joan, did you learn the basics?
Yep, I'm going to be replaying it when I watch the video, and I already have all the equipment. I just got to.
Okay, I'm sorry you came in late.
That's okay. Work had, I was in Cocoa and had to drive back. John got called in, so, this
Okay.
happens.
Okay, I think that's the class then. What time is it? It's 6:42. I'm sorry.